Hello, I wanted to share something with you. It's a little picture of a clouded mind. There is the clouded mind. And how do we clear the clouded mind? Notice that the little character there's a little meditator character, stick figure. There's the green grass and the blue sky, and there's the sun, and there's flowers around. And see, there's little clouds around his mind. It's just a fun way to talk about something that's very important. Oops, I just accidentally moved that. Anyway, so I'm borrowing this from something Swami Rama has explained before. Why do we have so much difficulty finding the eternal, the capital T truth, the R reality, or the capital S self? And there are three basic problems. One, we'll go through this a little bit. One is that everything in the external world keeps changing. Number two, the senses themselves are unreliable. And the third is that the mind itself is clouded. And then we need to figure out how to clear the clouded mind. Everything we experience in the external world is a manifestation of something else. Some examples: the house is made of bricks and the bricks are made of sand. Flowers arise from soil only to return to the soil. Today's friend is tomorrow's enemy, and then again friend. If the external world keeps changing, then the unchanging truth is not to be found there. Although truth or reality is contained within all of these, it's hard for the seeker to find in this external way. The ancients call this namarupa, or name and form. When the form changes, we call it house instead of sand, or flower instead of soil, or friend instead of foe, while all along it's made of the same stuff of the universe. It's still all that same one stuff of the universe. We just give it a new name. Number two, the senses are unreliable. Each of the senses, although wonderful tools for dealing with the external world, are really quite limited. To the yogis, the indriyas are a more gross, more external part of our makeup, particularly when they function through the physical body. So here's a little picture. There's an internal world here, this little blue thing on the right. There's an external world over here. And this is how the indriyas operate. We have five active expressions, the karmendriyas, and they move outward. The arrow is moving outward. We have jnanendriyas. Jhana means knowing. Indriyas is those senses. Karma is actions. It's the actions going out. The five cognitive senses are the importer. Stuff is coming in. If the senses are limited and unreliable, then the eternal truth or the absolute reality cannot be experienced through them. Those senses are unreliable. While the external world keeps changing, the very senses with which we observe that world are able to have experience only within their own limited range. The eyes see only a limited range. The ears hear only a limited range. And so also with smell and taste and touch. They all provide useful, though limited, inadequate information when seeking truth or reality. The way to find it cannot then be through the senses. The third problem is that the mind is clouded. The most limiting of the three is this one, that the mind itself is clouded, as if a thick morning fog were resting over the part of the mind that can accurately know, decide, judge, and discriminate. The cloud is made of the vapors of our own mental conditionings, the very habit patterns that define our personalities that we mistakenly come to believe is who we are. The cloud bank is made of the colorings of spiritual ignorance, avidya, which has its root in our ability to ignore. Avidya means without vidya, without knowing, so therefore it's like ignore. Note that at the root of ignorance is the word erode. Is the word ignore. Our mistaken identity as an individual, that I am separate from the whole, our seemingly countless attractions, aversions, and our fears of the loss of precarious balance of all of these, what you know as kleshas. Here's another little picture. The clouded mind is the reason that it is so difficult to understand and follow the very teachings and practices that would otherwise lead us to liberation. Here's our little wheel, and so there's the Atman at the center of the circle, and there's Manas, and there's Chitta, and there's Ahamkara, and there's Buddhi. Buddhi is the aspect of this Antakarna that has wisdom. It's not the Atman, the center of consciousness, but it's the subtlest, deepest aspect of our mental process. Ahamkara, ego, partners with Chitta and Manas. See, that's what I've got here. The little arrows down here. Ahamkara, Chitta, the memories, and Manas form a team. And Buddhi ends up clouded. There's those indriyas moving outward, and they're unreliable. Remember, everything out here in the external world changes. The indriyas, the senses, are unreliable. And now we see here in this picture, this is the graphic, that the wisdom inside the Buddhi is clouded. In a very practical way, this clouding is the reason that we can read right through a description of the method of meditation, listen to a thorough verbal explanation, completely miss the point, never practice, and then wonder when we're going to learn or be given the more advanced practices. I know that sounds hard, but it's the way it works. If the clouded mind is the biggest of the problems, then what is the solution? Worse still, we may wonder when some great saint is going to come, choose us out of the crowd and give us the path to enlightenment, or take us directly to the highest, while we continue to cling to our clouded state. The means and the truth are actually right in front of us. If only we could find a break in the clouds. The sages have been showing us the way throughout human history. If only we will do our part by removing some of the clouds we have put there ourselves. It is not an insult to say we have clouded minds. It is simply a statement of the nature of the problem. If we really understand and accept that this is the problem, then we can take actions to work around the problem and eventually eliminate it. If we call it Maya or illusion, or say the world is unreal, it does not suggest a solution to the dilemma, if we use that language. However, when we see the obstacle as being a clouded mind, the solution, or at least the direction we should go, seems obvious. Question: what's the solution to a clouded mind? Answer is remove the clouds. We are not ignorant beings who need to attain something by which we will no longer be ignorant, such as attaining more data from a classroom. Rather, it is a process of undoing or unlearning. It means thinning out the clouds gradually and systematically so that the sun that is already there can shine through. Remember the little picture that was above. We'll go back to it in a minute. Here's reference to the Yoga Sutras. The one thing that we really do need to learn is how to be a remover of our own clouds. To work around the clouded mind first means accepting the reality that the clouding is the problem. Then we can train ourselves to consciously be more observant, do a better job of discriminating, and to repeatedly go over the same basics of meditation, contemplation, and communing with the divine, however we experience that. This means doing the same simple practices, reading the same books, and listening to the same explanations over and over, and not always looking for something new around every curve in the road. When we have sufficiently thinned out the cloud bank over the mind, the systematic nature of the methods given us by the sages becomes profoundly clear. We then only have to continue to work on removing the clouds so that we might finally reach the goal, what has been referred to as a glittering light deep in the unconscious. Just one way of holding it. Let's go back here and take another little look at there's our clouded mind. There's the buddhi clouded. Manas, Chitta, Ahamkara work together to operate out in the external world, but the wisdom part gets clouded. And where is our little friendly little guy, number 3? Number 2, the senses are unreliable. The external world keeps changing. And there's our little guy with the clouded mind. So what are the 3 problems? The external world keeps changing. It's just the nature of the world out here. The senses are unreliable to perceive the truth, so we cannot use the senses. And the mind itself is clouded. And there's the little cloud. And hiding right behind us, there's the sun. It's a silly little picture, but it kind of works. And there's the joy of the world with all the pretty flowers and the green grass and the blue sky. Clearing the clouded mind. That's the key. I just wanted to share this with you, okay? Clear the clouded mind. Keeps it simple, huh? All righty. So, thank you for hanging out a little bit. I hope this is fun. Bye-bye.